Now that we're controlling the distance the robot moves and the straightness of its movements, the robot completes the labyrinth much more reliably than before. Still, there are some changes we can make to improve the robot's performance. For example, every motor is different, so the two power levels we chose, 63 and 50, may not be ideal for your robot. If your two motor powers are very similar, and the robot has to overcome very little drift, you could choose power levels closer together to eliminate some of the wiggle as it moves forward. On the other hand, if your two motors are very different, you may need to increase the difference between your normal and slow power levels to enable the robot to completely correct its forward movements. Let's take a look at our program. It's gotten pretty long, so changing individual power levels will take time. Add to that, it may take trying several combinations of new power levels before you find what's ideal for your robot. What if, instead of having to modify each individual power level, we could somehow change the power level in one place and have it change all of the values throughout the program? We can, with variables. In this lesson, you will learn what variables are and how they are used in programming. A variable is simply a place to store a value. You can take a sensor reading or a motor power level and drop it inside a variable. Think about it as a box or suitcase that holds a value for later use. In order to use a variable, you will need to specify two things: the type of value it will hold and the name you wish to give it. Variables and the values they hold are identified by types. Types refer to the type of data that the variable deals with. For example, these values are all integers. Integers are whole numbers, positive, negative, and even 0, but no decimal places allowed. These values are numbers, but not integers. They're called floating point numbers. Unlike integers, these numbers are allowed to have decimal places and get their name from the decimal point floating around in the number. Not every value is a number. Text in Robot C is treated as a string of letters, spaces, and other characters. Individual characters have their own type as well, char. There is even a special kind of value called a Boolean value that holds only true or false values, like the answer to a yes or no condition. To summarize, things like motor powers, time, and sensor readings are numerical values and can be placed in a variable for later use. Using variables will enable us to set our motor powers in one place and then reference them multiple times, saving both time and effort as we improve our program. Continue on to the next lesson to implement the variables in our program.